Okay, so I just got done looking through a couple of the videos they put up on Heartfulness for Dodgy's trip to America, Dodgy's big adventure. Pee Wee's big adventure. So I'm going to put this video in my 150th 50th anniversary. I already covered this a little bit. Some of this is going to be repetitive for you guys watching the Journey series for the 150th Journey series. I'm going to say some of the things again just because I thought I was just going to cover it there. I wasn't originally going to cover it here on the channel, the backup channel, the channel formerly known as Dodgy Heartfulness Cult, Dodgy Scam, whatever it is. But the first thing I want to say, which I said before on the other on my Journey series audio today, is that Dodgy just doesn't do things right, and he quits on things, and it's a clear sign that he's not a good Abiasi, and certainly not a master, right? Because the master aligns with what he's supposed to do, and is always successful. Chargy was always successful. Babaji was always successful. I mean, in terms of what they could control in their whatever they were doing, if other human beings, people are involved, screwed up, or they put somebody up in a higher region, the person fell, they would blame themselves, but that was, it had also to do with the other person's freedom of choice. But in terms of all the ventures that they did, whether it was build ashrams or any number of things, it was successful, right? And so celebrating the Bandaras is what they were supposed to do. And so Charji pulled off, and Babaji pulled off all these Bandaras, with no money. I mean, the things would just come together out of chaos. Thousands of people were coming, and they weren't prepared, and somehow it would all be pulled together almost miraculously. And, these things happen time and time again in the history of Sajmark, because that's what they were supposed to do, is have these big gatherings. Now, Dodgy has been trying to cancel Chargy's birthday since 2016. And he keeps on failing because it's not what he's supposed to do, and he never takes accountability for it or, addresses it. But it's failure because he's not supposed to cancel Chargy's birthday, right? And so, like, just with the Tuktaji thing, right? He's got this guy Tuktaji swimming around in his internal world that he said he was, he merged with, and the guy, but the Tuktaji people didn't buy into it. So why is Tuktaji doing inside Dodgy if he isn't, serving his own people? I mean, Tuktaji isn't there for the rest of us. And so he said, a big statement that Tuktaji merged in him, which of course is goofy and, not true and just, lame on his part. But, was again lying and deceiving. And of course it didn't work out. So he fails all the time and quits all the time because of that. It's a clear indication of him being not masterly, because he says things like, let's cancel Chargy's birthday and Babaji's birthday and fold them into the other masters' birthdays. And it doesn't take, people don't cooperate with it. Nature doesn't cooperate with them. Nature backs you, when you are living this way, and we've all experienced it, right? All of us who have tried things that were hard or did things that were, almost seems impossible, or as long as we were doing them because our soul, it was a part of our soul's journey, it was part of what we were supposed to be doing, we pull it off, right? We end up being successful. And it's happened to all of us as Abhyasis. It's happened to Kamlesh as well, but now he's fallen away from that and he's failing all the time. And so then he had this Brighter Mind scam thing, which is, he brought it to Atlanta. There were a couple things that happened there. He was up there with Mr. J, who is, big Cora guy, and this is goofy. He did that in Monroe, New Jersey. I watched a little bit of that. And just now I just watched the Brighter Minds thing. It was hilarious. They're doing things like patting their head and rubbing their belly, and that's supposed to make them be able to smell colors, right? The whole thing is just goofy. And all the audience is doing it, and it's just their audience is definitely not enthusiastic about it. I think they all know it's kind of a scam. And Dodgy said it's miraculous, right? But Mr. J was supposed to prove it, was supposed to do scientific testing on it with this preceptor, Rob, who had contacted me. Rob was going to quit if they didn't, move forward with it. And, Mr. J was his preceptor. And Mr. J was saying, well, I just want to prove to see if it's possible. but they never followed through with the testing. And Doodji's up there doing this ridiculous thing, right? And it's kind of hilarious if you haven't seen it. I don't know if they're taking it down. I made a copy of it for, I mean, I'm probably never going to make a video again because of the copyright issue, but, again, it's bad. Like, it's just embarrassing. And Dodgy saying it's miraculous. At one point, he says something like, this, you guys will think that this is magic and there's trickery or whatever. It can't be done, but this is, no, it's me. Like it's real, like when it's just stupid, like nobody would believe this, right? Like nobody has ever broken a blindfold. No one's ever been able to outsmart a like I remember playing Pin the Tail on the Donkey when I was a kid and being able to see through the blindfold and being able to do it, right? And they're like, yeah, you did it. And I was like, no, I could see through the blindfold. Like, you didn't put the blindfold on right. Like, I did this long before any. But anyways, it's just like he's just a failure on every level because he's not embracing and doing the things he's supposed to do. Celebrate your master's birthday. Celebrate Chargie's birthday. It's not rocket science. Anybody with half a brain knows this is what he's supposed to do. And he keeps on doing what he's not supposed to do, and that's the issue. One of the reasons I'm paying attention to this right now in the 150th Journey series is about returning to America after 3 years in India with my kids, divorce stuff. And I'm talking about, and today I was talking about going to the gathering in which Dodgy came to California, which was, kind of a big turning point. Just his, like blowing me off and how I was ostracized there and things that led up to it. And I'm realizing, wow, this guy's like not a master. Like, this is when I was first, I'd seen some stuff, but it was before he was the master of the system. And I thought he would maybe outgrow it or, he would mature out of it. Like I didn't know Chargy when Chargy was first the master, right? And so I thought the guy would get better. And even, till recent years, I thought he might get better. But he's gotten worse. He's very immature and very incompetent. And after the video, after the gathering, or after one of the sittings, again, like it was like a half-hour sitting, the one that I looked at. There were 6 sittings, 3 in New Jersey and 3 in Atlanta. Again, not going to the ashram, going to some Indian temple that doesn't have the same spiritual condition as the ashram. And it said that he was going to give a sort of a joint presentation with a African American poet named Jay Ivey. Jay Ivey is one of those sort of slam poetry people. They're kind of aggressive. You ever seen some of those, poetry slams? It's got a very select audience. It's usually kind of pretentious people. It's around colleges and things. He's a younger guy. And, he's not a guy that you would associate with Dodgy, right? Like, I don't think Dodgy understands slam poetry. And his people that are following him around, they're either boomer hippies for like a small part, and most of them are Indians, and they're not going to understand slam poetry. And, there isn't a big connection between spirituality and slam poetry. It's just a weird thing. Like, he does this quite often where he has these interactions with people who are not like him at all. And I know he doesn't understand them. I know he doesn't understand the African American community, things that he said in the past. I think he's, slightly prejudiced and racist based on certain things he said about different demographics. There's some, Chargy was like a man of the world that you could bring into any situation and he would just get people and people would get him. And I think they're trying to make Dodgy into that and, bring in a slam poet. It's just, Chargy could always connect with people on a different level and, just better than Kamlish could. Kamlish is a loner and, socially awkward. He's really stupid, right? He's not nearly as, Chargy just could read people and, penetrate to their essence. And Babaji the same way. Because Babaji really didn't pay attention to anything but the person's soul. He didn't know anything about their characteristics in terms of the country or the caste they were born in or whatever it was. Like he just was about, their spiritual essence, and Chargy as well. But then Chargy was more worldly too, and he understood cultures and things like this. But, they never would have tried this fake kind of multicultural, presentation just to do it, like to get street cred or be, whatever it is, right? It's so artificial. He's such a, they're such posers Doooji and his handlers. And it's just really bad. And so, it's been 9 years since he's been to America, and there was, sort of a big turning point for me personally because of his complete, his failure as a master. Like I said, I'm covering that in the 150th Journey series, that period of time, and now, he's even worse. It's just the whole mission's become a joke, and he's running. It's just, you guys all know. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.